Dave Stone, Senior Director of the Freight Brokerage here at WSI. We do have a small asset base, we have a huge warehousing footprint, and we have a brokerage leg that can handle all aspects of anything that a customer should need. When you've been around for a while, you end up with a pretty solid carrier base, and that carrier base becomes dedicated to certain lanes. The same lanes going to the same carriers at the same rate. And so it almost became an exercise in manual operations. Manually go into the system, I have to manually type it in, I have to manually send the rate con. And when you're talking hundreds of loads, doing this on a daily basis, it becomes completely inefficient. If your team is doing nothing but the manual operation, you're gonna be spent by the end of the day just in sending tenders. How do you go grow this? When you do turn around and start to get spot freight and you do start to get some tough lanes, how do you go cover those? That's really the jump off point for Cargo Chief, right? Like that's the piece where we say, this is the system that number one allows us to maintain those current carriers, but also allows us to find those other carriers on tough lanes and allows our team to focus on those lanes more than what they were doing in the past. One of the best pieces about Cargo Chief is the ability to come up with a unique way of trying to implement something. We need to see if this is going to work and if this is going to match up with the assumptions that we had, right? And so the first piece is, well, let's try it on this single carrier that has these lanes that you're spending the most time with. Let's see if it works for them. How's the carrier going to respond? How's it going to show up in the system? Like, what's the system actually going to do? And is this actually going to work the way I think it's going to work? Cargo Chief reaches out to the carrier and immediately engages with the carrier to make sure that they're comfortable in this. That's a huge step in the right direction to get the carrier bought in. Getting our team bought in. How does this work with our team? What's our team think about this? From the moment we rolled out until the moment that that carrier was accepting those, it was extremely quick. The carrier is excited about it. And when we look in the system and we see that carrier is attached and we see the rates attached and we see that load has moved into the next status, it becomes an easy conversation for us to say, we just booked all of these loads that normally would have taken a human all day to kind of send these, and they sent the rate cons in less than 5 minutes. When you have carriers reaching out to carrier sales reps saying, hey guys, I want to make sure that I did this right. Is this the way I do it? Is this where I'm going to see my loads now? I want to make sure that I got this load. Do I need to do anything else? Number one, that would have been a phone call or an email, or it would have been some form of communication. Those carriers have that stuff and they're accepting it right away, which now allows them to fill their trucks quicker. It allows us to know that that load is done and covered, right? And so from that perspective, it helps the carriers on that piece. But I think the bigger thing is this, right? A carrier knows that they are on a lane because they see those lanes the moment that we see them. And I think that's the ultimate piece that builds the trust. There's no doubt about them being my priority and my number one carrier on that piece. And you turn around and start to see carriers that reach out and say, hey, any more of those loads coming through, you have anything else that we can support you guys on? That's the ultimate piece on having a carrier relationship. From Cargo Chief reaching out directly to the carriers to validate that the carriers have what they need and the carriers are getting what they need and the carriers are giving feedback, I think is a huge piece. There's not many providers out there from a tech perspective that are going to do that to your carriers, right? Typically it's you have the platform, you run the platform, you need to reach out as needed. You don't feel like a number in a ticketing system. You feel like they actually want to move at the same speed and urgency that you have. It means we spend more time actually doing legit procurement of hard lanes where we can go find those carriers to onboard so that we're not using these one-off spot type of carriers. That is where you're really going to build this relationship, and that's where you're really going to build this brokerage out, is being able to have these things go into a digital booking, have over 50% of those loads booked digitally. It's a no-brainer, and it becomes a very easy piece for us to turn around and say we're gonna move forward with this.